Guy I'm probably not playing is going to be Khalil Herbert. He was actually supposed to come back last week, has that ankle injury. Really has not been great. Obviously been hurt, gone IR, but hasn't been good even earlier in the year. But what do you have on Khalil Herbert, Tom?
Really shocking that he didn't play last week. He practiced in full the whole week leading up to the Thursday night game. Was a surprise inactive, and another 11 or so days to recover, rehab. You'd think he would be okay. He's still kind of limited to start this week, and apparently he's also dealing with a shin injury. Unclear if that's the same side as the high ankle sprain or not, but that's the type of injury that is not surprising to occur after an injury like a major high ankle sprain because, as we always talk about on this show, the ankle is our primary shock absorber. If we're not absorbing shock properly, such as after a pretty significant injury, then sometimes what can happen is you can develop shin splints, which I don't know if that's what he's dealing with, but that's kind of what it sounds like, unless he just got kicked in the shin, which is also possible. So that in itself, though, wouldn't really profile to affect production. So if he does play, I'd expect him to play pretty well on a per-play standpoint. Remember, surprisingly, somehow, even though high ankle sprains are very significant injuries, somehow the data shows that running backs don't take a hit in their fantasy production when they return from it, and as many as 41% of running backs in a sample size of 27 are meeting or exceeding their pre-injury fantasy production in the very first game back. Now, Herbert, I don't think will do that because he was seeing 64% of snaps before he got injured. That's not going to happen with Foreman and Johnson also there. For that reason, I don't think he will meet his pre-injury production level, but on a per play standpoint, I think he'll be fine. So in situations where you don't have a lot of running back depth, you may be able to play him. It may not be the prettiest start of all time, but I don't think it would be the worst start of all time.
Okay. That's a lot to swallow there. Expert analysis. I appreciate that. I mean, I have him and I have Bijan this week on a bye. I have to play him. I'm kind of desperate, but I think that's the only way you play Khalil Herbert is if you are desperate because hasn't played since week 5. And in the 5 games he's played this year, he's really only had 1 game where he's even been decent. And again, Bears playing the Lions. They're very likely going to be losing this week. I think Roschon Johnson, who really hasn't gotten that many snaps, I think he's going to be on the field more for the receiving work. And Foreman's been very good in the absence of Herbert. So I think it's a massive risk. I'm not willing to take it, at this point in week 11, unless I'm desperate. And also the Lions are excellent against the run. So I'm worried about Herbert, basically what Tom said, not from an injury standpoint, but just more of a situational thing. Dameon Pierce, next player up. He has an ankle injury, another guy that's been really disappointing. RB 46 on the year, averaging just a measly 7.4 points per game. Sat last week. Are there new updates on him?
No, there isn't. He's still not practicing today. So this tells us that it's more than a grade 1 injury. So it's at least a grade 2 sprain where you have some of that laxity or that loss of stability from the ligaments, which is going to put him at a higher risk for re-injuries and more likely to impact his ability to change direction. But he's really not a change of direction runner. He's a downhill guy. He likes to run people over. So he does profile as the type of running back that would not be as affected by this injury. But obviously, if it's significant enough that he's not going to play, then you're not going to play him. But also, he's been terrible this year, and Singletary's been okay and probably fits this offense better. So even when Pierce does return, I would not recommend starting him.
He is a guy, Dameon Pierce, that is preseason. I thought he was going to be a guy in that 3-down role. Here we are. It's just not looking good, of course, with the injury. And like you said, Devin Singletary, another week 10 thing that who the hell would have thought 30 carries for 150 yards, 5 yards per carry and a touchdown. Like, I guess he brings that veteran presence to this backfield with the rookie quarterback. I mean, I think D'Amico Ryans, their head coach, offense coordinator, Bobby Slowett, I think they'd be crazy to throw Pierce back into a big role, even if he is healthy. So I'm really nervous about him just in terms of his numbers this year. Dameon Pierce, 3.0 yards per carry. That's really bad. That's
not good.
That's the territory of Miles Sanders, Tyler Algier, Cam Akers, Rachaad White, amongst the most inefficient backs in football. But hey, like we talked about before, CJ Stroud flying high, real good chance to be the rookie of the year. But I'm sitting Pierce this week again, unless I'm desperate, based off the injury. And again, the scenario here. No Giants are in that conversation, unfortunately. Not Saquon Barkley with his now just popped up with an ankle injury. Told you to sell this guy a month ago. I'm